Mermaid, it's not black enough. To be honest with you, it's not black enough. The new Little Mermaid, it's actually not. I want it to be even blacker. And she has a lovely voice, that girl that's singing. It's beautiful. But I think it could have even went, to where it's almost uncomfortable for everyone. And that's what I wanted. But that's all I have to say because I'm here now on YouTube. And I support Fran Drescher, to the person who's doing this writer's strike. I do. And the SAG, she's in the union that I'm in, the Screen Actors Guild. Fran Drescher, who, if you remember, was in a show called The Nanny. And she was the star of the show. She was the nanny. And she is now the president of the Screen Actors Guild. And it's a great injustice what's happening right now. And I'm a little disappointed that Americans don't care about the trouble that actors and writers are having not making any money. Americans are like, hey, they're of the attitude, it's like, hey, fuck you, and all you make is crap that we don't want to watch. But that's not true. There's a few things that you like that could go away if this doesn't get rectified. There are. Those big budget Marvel movies you all like, you slumber into the theater like a herd of cattle and buy a bucket of soda with your kids and eat little hot dog donuts, they're going away. Hey, that's going away. It's not just Succession. Some of the things you like are the movies where cats talk to each other. You like that? That's out too. All the films where cats and dogs speak, because Americans they like that. They like when cats and dogs speak to each other because they can in real life. But in the movies, they can't, and people like it. So some of those things that Americans like, and they like movies of, what is that, the Fast and Furious, where they keep stealing all the cars, they keep taking cars every year in some other desert. And that can go away. It's not just the faggoty things that your, brother-in-law watches on the BBC, which is not affected by it, but there's some actual, real explosions that may not happen because of this strike. So you should get mad at this. And I famously here see everyone's point with the strike. I do. Because I think people should get paid fairly. But then I look at what's happening, and let's take a look at Snow White. Snow White is a movie that is coming out now. It is a Disney film. It should be a hit. Snow White, who could have more name recognition than Snow White? Everybody knows what Snow White is about. It is about a woman or a girl who is tempted with a witch who gives her an apple. Is that correct? That is correct. After that, I don't, but there's a wolf too. But everyone knows about it. It's big. And it should these remakes should just kill. There should be it should be on, if you don't fuck this stuff up, it should be easy. Snow White, get a wolf, get a bitch, get a witch. You're done. Get a prince, probably. Now, Snow White, you would think this would be the perfect time to employ little people. Not using the other M word. I'm on YouTube, and I'm gay. But I'm using the word little people. Now, you would think this is 7 little actors can work. 7 little actors can now work. You would think, right? Wrong. Disney's live-action Snow White under fire for replacing 7 dwarfs with, quote, magical creatures of all sizes and genders. This, again, was the one opportunity for little people to have their moment in the sun, other than that role on Game of Thrones that he killed, Peter Dinklage. But now, 7 people get to have a potential shot And what do? Make that screen bigger. Look at this freak show that they have. First of all, these are not dwarfs. There's only one dwarf. The rest of them look unkempt. They look homeless. They look diseased. You could have accomplished this by going to Seattle and grabbing 7 heroin addicts that were living under a fucking bridge. This is scary. This does not look like something kids would like. You should have little cherubic-like people. That's what dwarfs are. They're tiny, somewhat chubby, hardy, hard-working people. This is like a fucking unemployment line of scum. Every person here, what are they wearing? What are they dressed? What is this? Why are you destroying everything? This is so easy to not fuck up. You can have black little people. There's nothing wrong with that. Get all the little people of all the races, but they need to be little. Why is the guy in the middle with long hair being hired? What group is he in? Let me see why they're doing it, because they're trying to modernize these movies and they're destroying everything. And this is one of the reasons it's hard to get people to care about this strike, because they have turned on the business. They don't enjoy the things that are being made anymore. They don't care. And if you don't get them to care, you lose that popular support. Let's find out. Okay, quote, literally no offense to anyone, but I was a little taken back when they were very proud to make this bigger, when they were very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, which, by the way, it's fine. That's fine. No one cares, okay? But you're still telling the story of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, he said in January 2022. I don't know who's saying that. You're progressive in one way, but then you're still making that fucking backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave together. What the fuck are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause for my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. In response, Disney said it was taking, quote, a different approach to avoid reinforcing Well, it's about... Christ almighty. So, find out who said that, because they ruined the whole fucking movie. One guy said it. Somebody had a problem with that they were making a movie with 7 dwarfs. By the way, what? I don't even understand the negative stereotypes about dwarfs in the movie. That they work hard. First of all, if you remember, the dwarfs were not painted as one thing. There was Sleepy, Happy, there was a few of them. Jewy, there were a few different dwarfs, and I forget what they did and who they were, but they each had a specific personality and a specific thing that they did. Nobody was saying that, like, all the dwarfs are one thing. Is it, but all that they worked hard, right? That was what we knew them for, that they were workers. Why is that such a bad idea? Why is that what stereotype is being reinforced that they live in a cave? I'm so curious.
Dinklage.
Oh, this is Peter Dinklage. You know, I gotta be honest, I'm not happy about this. And I don't want to go to war with him, but it's really like, what if there was a Disney film called Snow White and the Fat Faggots? If there was. No, I'm saying if there was. I'm not saying there is. If there was. And it was 7 fat faggots that were, like myself, kind of loud and vicious. Number 1, better movie. Number 2, why would I wouldn't complain about, like, what is he complaining about? Does Peter Dinklage not like that there are dwarfs? Does he not want them to, I don't know. I'm confused, man.
He doesn't like the portrayal of the disability.
What's the disability? Well, as what, though? This is what I'm trying to understand. And maybe he could help me understand this, because maybe I'm not understanding why he's mad, and maybe he's mad for a very legitimate reason. All I'm understanding is that there are people that are little. Maybe they don't like the word dwarf, but they are littler than other people, right? And Snow White befriends them.
Right.
What's the problem? I don't can you articulate why he's upset?
If I were guessing, maybe he doesn't want his culture to be a Disney character. Dwarf culture.
Here's the thing, man. Then don't make it. Or Disney just got to tell him, fuck you. Someone's got to tell him, fuck you, Peter. Hey, fuck you. You know how many he's taking, here's what Peter Dinklage is doing. He's taking the food out of a little woke mouth. Those little mouths that could be eating, Peter Dinklage is stealing food out of their mouth. There's 7, here's what Peter Dinklage is saying. I'm the only one that can be famous. Just me. Sorry, everybody. We're shutting that down. You know how I was a dwarf in Game of Thrones? That's cool. Everyone else, we're closing the little bridge. The little bridge is going up, and no one can cross over it now because I'm already rich. So now there's 7 scumbags that are going to be in this movie when there were 7 actors that have probably been working their asses off. This is the fucking... Like, I would like to play the Cheshire Cat. That's like a Disney role for me that I'd love to play because it smokes and it's kind of nasty and you can tell it like cares about what's going on, you know? Like it's kind of cognizant of what's happening. Yeah, I like the Cheshire Cat. So this would be my role. This would be my role. This is what I would like to do if I was involved. If Bob Iger called me today. If he called me today, he'd probably try to get me to kill Fran Drescher. But if he called me today, he'd give Ray Kump a gun. He'd be like, Bob Iger hands Ray Kump a gun. He goes, do the right thing, Ray.
Listen, what?
Do it. Do the right thing. She's causing all kinds of problems, Ray. But so the Cheshire Cat is a role for me where I would go, God damn it, I want to be in that. We're getting ridiculous, man. So now we have Snow White and the 7 homeless people. Look at that. If I saw that crew, I would go nuts. They're going to destroy the company. Bob Iger is a good CEO. He cannot let this happen. They're going to destroy it. Now, the Little Mermaid, she was a great talent. She had a great voice. But every one of her sisters was a different race. It was like weird. Like one was like a Romanian gypsy, and the other one, it's like, it didn't make any sense. So a lot of this stuff, by its very nature, doesn't make sense to anybody. We don't get it. So I'm just saying that it's a real issue, what's happening right now with the strike. Now, get up, Fran Drescher. Like, because I am on strike now. I am, and I want to show up to the picket lines, and I want to show this support because I am striking. I won't work right now unless I'm paid. And I have some of my own demands that are outside of the strike. I'm going rogue.
This is Fran Drescher the other day giving a speech.
Yes.
What up?
I want to see it.
You cannot change the business model.
Here we go. Now, by the way, what's great about her, they're all acting all the time. This is the most... Now, I agree with a lot of what they want. Some of it, I think, is unrealistic. The studios will not budge on AI and, maybe not the size of writers' rooms. I do think they'll pay them more. I do think the residuals, they'll come to the table on that. But here's why it's the most insufferable strike in the world. Everyone is acting. Like when air traffic controllers go on strike, they're not acting. There's a strike every other day here in New York. There's an inflatable rent-a-rat. Some unions picketing, the local whatever, they got the signs.
Ramsey 99.
The reason this strike is very, it's disgusting to people and grotesque is because all the people in it are, like when Ron Perlman was like, Ron Perlman, you know him, the guy who plays a Hellboy and all that other stuff? He's like, because supposedly it leaked out that a studio head said, we're just going to let them lose their houses. We're gonna bleed them out. We're going to let these writers and on my Patreon, I talk a lot more about this in a little bit of detail. But he goes, basically, we're going to let them die. And he lose their house. So now Ron Perlman came back and he's like, there's a lot of way to lose your fucking house, brother. Like he did like a thing where he's like, there's a lot of ways to lose your house. Basically a threat going, there's a lot of ways to lose your house. Like maybe I'll burn it down, maybe I'll kill you. But he's an actor. He's not doing anything. He's kind of a puss. He's an actor. No offense. He could probably kill me, but he's not burning down Bob Iger's house. It's just not what he is. So they're all doing shit like that. They're all gonna go like above. There's a lot of ways to lose a house. You don't want to. It's like you're not the thing you pretend to be. Just focus in and try to get a good deal hammered out. She's also losing her mind. Now remember, we like and I respect Fran Drescher, but these people have not acted in a while, and it shows. Let's go to Fran.
It has changed, and not expect the contract to change too. We're not going to keep doing incremental changes on a contract that no longer honors what is happening right now with this business model that was foisted upon us.
Can someone write this for her, by the way? Can someone stop it? Can someone write this down for her? Because she's looks like erratic and she doesn't know what's going on. And this is not a good communication strategy. I understand this is the way that they think, actors. They're all like, it's got to be all over the place. She's like, the business model is changed. But it's like let's hammer out points. Couple of points. Couple of key points. Point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. Not this, I'm all over the place. I'm screaming and yelling. She looks like she's about to break out in a song. The studios are lying. It's like you gotta just, a little composure goes a long way. And I say that as a member of SAG who is striking, who should be heard. I have a strike platform, and it's controversial. And my strike and a lot of people aren't gonna like it. My strike platform is give the studios 90% of what they want. Let's take 10%. And many people do not like that, but I say give the studios 90%. Let's take 10. Let's take 10. And that has been defeated. I have been called a scab. I have been called a bootlicker for billionaires because I have just suggested, it was a mild suggestion, giving the studios 90% of what they want, taking the lowest earning members of SAG and putting them in not a slave program, but like an indentured servant, kind of working, maybe like a mentorship thing. And of course, I have been attacked for that. But no, it's at the end of the day, the Hollywood and the machine is going to shrink now. It has to. There's 600 shows. Nobody's watching a lot of them. There's a lot of people trying to make a living as an actor or a writer. It's not sustainable. Shows like mine cost a lot less to produce than these shows. We have more people watching this than a lot of the shows that are being produced by streamers for millions and millions and millions of dollars. Long term, the sustainability of the business model is being called into question. And of course, the streamers are being shitty to writers and actors. They always have been. And let's see how much leverage the writers and actors have. I'd like to see them hammer out a good deal. I've offered to kind of go in and negotiate, but they're not giving up on AI. If every industry in the world is using AI, Hollywood's not going to take a moral stand. This is the business that raped children and threw women into the fire pits when they spoke up about anything except a couple of years ago. They're not going to be the ones to take a moral stand about AI. Like, they're not going to be like, well, we care about humans and we don't want to displace any human being. No, they're trying to accelerate AI so much that they never have to see another actor and writer again. And I'm sure they would love that. So you'll have to figure out somewhere that the business that we can live and people that are working in this business where their labor is getting rewarded in a way that they can feel comfortable with. That's the serious angle of it. But there are things you're not going to win on these certain things. You can't keep ruining everything with this crap where you're hiring people based on race, sexuality, gender, and not level of talent. And I'm not saying you can't find both. But if you're going to do this thing where you're going to remake movies so that they're morality tales where people can learn lessons, they're just fucking not going to watch them. They're not going to care. Do you know who is Snow White, by the way? Do you know who's the new Snow White? Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney is Snow White. because nobody learns. Nobody learns a lesson. Dylan Mulvaney is coming as Snow White with the 7 magical gender creatures. She's coming to a screen near you. Let's finish up with Fran. She looks very angry. She's got to look. The thing is, you got to look a little cooler. You got to. I feel like you got to turn it down. It's too much. If I would say, cut, too much. Just take a little less. A little. Fran, no, we get it. We understand you got people are yelling at you because you took a photo with Kim Kardashian in Italy, and people don't think you're in the cause. But we just need you to tone it down a little bit and get a hairbrush. Continue.
It's crazy.
Is it?
So the jig is up, AMPTP.
That's right.
We stand tall.
That's right.
You have to wake up and smell the coffee.
I like that one.
Can it?
Coffee. She had to find a way to get the word coffee in there. Maybe she'll use water too. The water sigh. The coffee. You better smell the coffee. We're underwater here. Sag. 87% of people in SAG make less than $26,000 a year that cannot even qualify for health insurance. $26,000 is the SAG minimum to qualify for health insurance. There is so much inequality in the entertainment business, right? You know, even though it's, quote, a progressive and liberal business, it's an insane amount of inequality. And they got to figure something out. But it's also a tough business because who's really in it? How much do you have to do to be in the fucking business, right? You can't just show up and say, I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a comedian. It takes years of hard work, unpaid. You got to figure it out. You hop from gig to gig to gig to carve out a career. It's not a regular business. It doesn't operate like that. It's not a job creation business. Their job is not to create jobs for people. Their job is to find the most talented people that are trying to do this and give them opportunities. Or that was their job, and that should still be their job. I support everyone involved here. I support SAG. I support the WGA. I support Big Daddy Zaz, David Zaslav. I support Bobby Iger over at Disney. I support Ted Sarandos at Netflix. Call me. I support all the CEOs. I support the writers and the CEOs because you know what? We're all human beings. We're human beings. It doesn't matter if you make $1 billion or $10. We all bleed red blood. So it's hard for me to choose between the people that have all the billionaires and the people that I personally know in my own life I don't really like. But I agree with the writers, and in theory, I just don't want to have to see them or talk to them. Because now they're all trying to do stand-up. God, is that a mess? So shout out to Big Daddy Zaz. I support you. You're going to have to fold. These streamers are going to have to fold a little bit, but I like what they're doing in the moment because it's like nobody wants to see anybody fold quickly. I think there should be a long strike with a lot of violence. I think the violence should go both ways. I think there should be people I think people like Fran Drescher should walk around with armed security. I think there should be a lot of egg throwing and pies. I think there should be real blood on the street. I think there should be lamb's blood on the door. I think that's good. Now, I'm not advocating for any of that. I'm not telling anyone to do it. Strictly as someone who's watching this, it would be nice to see a very Hollywood strike. Let's make it a Hollywood strike. Let's make it what the movies aren't. Fun and watchable. That's what I would hope. That's all. Is there a version of Fran Drescher that smacks Big Daddy Zaz in the face? Does she spit at Bob Iger? And does Bob Iger just fucking go at her? You know, I don't know how it works, folks. I'm just saying that's my goal. My goal is that it is very watchable. And then hopefully it ends. The pole dancing convention has left Florida. Ron DeSantis, who I think is a little bit of a hysteric about the LGBTQIA2 stuff. I think he's a little bit of a hysteric. Although I do, and I've talked about many times, that I think the LGBT whatever community, they're also losing their minds now. And it's a big tent now, and they're inviting a lot of people in. But this was sad to me because you know that I am a fan of, I like reasonable people, rational people. PolCon moves the 2024 convention away from Florida, citing drag ban and anti-LGBTQ laws. PolCon, a popular pole dancing convention, has decided to move its 2024 convention out of Florida, citing the state's anti-LGBTQ laws. Let's get to the article here.
Laya Joe, thanks for the follow.
In an interview with Insider,
T-God4577, thanks for
Jolly,
the follow. Alex Keller,
that's her
Green
name.
Ramsey 99,
The
thanks for the
CEO
follow.
and owner
To
of
Rare
PolCon
Gang.
said she thought she'd hoped to hold the convention in Orlando
Thank
due
you.
to the size of the pole community there. Keeping the convention inclusive for LGBTQ plus attendees meant moving it, she said. Quote, unfortunately, a growing number of states are making these really broad laws in the name of protecting children, but they're not protecting children at all. They're just about controlling and harming transit queer folks. Jolly told Insider the convention needs to be moved because a small contingent of its attendees are under 18 years old. The 1,300-person event typically sells less than 10 tickets to minors accompanied by their parents. So what they're here's the deal. The idea that Florida is trying to make itself a state where minors cannot pole dance is insane. It's frankly disgusting. Because it is a sport, pole dancing. It's an art. My cousin and her children visited my Hamptons estate recently. It's not an estate. It is compared to you, unless you're someone, Here's the point. My cousin and her children were at my house. The first thing I asked, and I forget their ages, 7 or 8 or whatever, who cares, sweet kids. First thing I asked, are they pole dancing? Are they pole dancing? No, it's true. Are they pole dancing? Because it is a great, number one, it's exercise. So many of these kids are fat. Get them on the pole. Get them on the pole young. So Florida is trying to make itself a state that does not welcome families who want to attend PolCon. Families of people. Usually, here's the deal. Despite that, because the Florida law prohibits children from attending adult live performances, which includes drag shows, and some pole dancers perform in clothing that does not match their gender assigned at birth. So if you want to take your children to see pole dancing drag queens in Florida, you're not allowed to do it. And that saddens me. If you want to take your children to Florida and instead of going to Disney World, you want to take them to PolCon so they can watch pole dancing and maybe learn to be a pole dancer. What if your child is a drag pole dancer? People are born the way they're born. What if your child is a 10-year-old who comes to you and says, I am a drag queen, and you go, I support you, and you go, hold on, I am also a pole dancer, and I want to go to PolCon in Florida where I can dress in drag and dance on a pole with my friends. I want to dance on a pole with my friends in drag. And if you're a parent, you have to look at your child and go, honey, yes, for Christmas this year, right after we get home from Mass, I will buy 2 tickets to PolCon so that me, or 3, will bring your father and we'll all go down together and your father will watch you pole dance. Because this is crazy. This is a big thing for a lot of families. This might be the new Disney World in 20 years in our country. There might be more people going to PolCon. PolCon maintains that parents should make the decisions for their children for which showcases and workshops to attend during PolCon. Right. Jolly wrote in a blog post discussing the decision to move the convention. This is not about drag. It never was. It's like, here's the deal. If you take your kids to PolCon, you have to decide what is important for them to see and what's not. Some performances highlight Black and Latino online Latinx performers While others have performers from the LGBTQ plus community, other showcases are specifically for younger attendees to perform at. Other showcases are specifically for younger attendees to perform at. So that's for the kids who want to do pole dancing. I mean, if you're a cisgender straight person, you're probably not paying attention to these laws because listen, here's the reality. It's one of those there but for the grace of God go I things. First they came for kids who are pole dancing. And you know what I mean? And then what's next? The reason I have this article up, I do think DeSantis wants to make the country into a Christian theocracy, which I'm sure some people love. That idea. Of course, those people rape more children than anyone. That being said, the Catholic Church, that we'd be closing down those. That being said, this is insane. Who is taking children to a pole dancing convention in Florida? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I read this article. I'm like, this is fucking a madhouse. So I do think this does not help the case of anyone. I was reading this and they're like, DeSantis' laws are targeting, and then I read it and I'm like, oh, it's pole dance. It's like people that want their children to pole dance are apparently upset about it. About it. I'm not saying, I don't know if you should ban that. I think it's a bad idea for kids to start tinkering with puberty. It's a very bad idea. Should it be banned in all cases? I don't know. There's probably some extreme cases. But I just think this is funny that the example being used is a pole dancing convention.
And for Griffin Canning, it's
in
always
Florida,
about attacking the strike zone, and it should be a good effort for him today. A career ERA of 3.38 for Canning versus the
Robert
Yankees.
De Niro's
6-4.
grandson, and I touched on this in the Patreon, very sad, died by taking a pill that was a Percocet and it had fentanyl in it. Now they're saying that fentanyl is in 90% of drugs in New York City right now. It's crazy. He was sold this drug by a 20-year-old girl named Haley, Sophia Haley Marks, called the Percocet Princess. We cannot find one photo of her online. Here is my conspiracy theory. I think she might be the daughter of somebody wealthy. Could that be? Is that possible? Percocet Princess, who allegedly sold Robert De Niro's grandson drugs that led to his suspected overdose, warned him, literally, I don't want to kill you. That's what she said. But then she sold him the fentanyl-laced pills. She's being held without bail on federal narcotics charges in Manhattan after selling fake oxycodone and Xanax with fentanyl in them to Leonardo De Niro Rodriguez, 19, R.I.P. He did not make it. Very sad. Rodriguez first texted Marks on June 30th asking him to buy, quote, 30s blue counterfeit oxycodone stamp with the number, and she allegedly replied that they are potentially dangerous. Do you really need them? Marks replied, according to the criminal complaint, I don't want to kill you. I don't like serving you because they're not script, meaning not prescription grade. But she served him anyway. And now, sadly, tragically, he died. And this is one of those stories that, makes you really think that, if you're out there and you're struggling with drugs, you got to get help because there's too much shit on the street right now that can kill you. And not over a long period of time. We're talking pretty instantaneously. You take one Percocet. I used to take Percocet, and I never thought, and I never felt that I was in danger from taking Percocet. I thought it was just a fun way to start a morning, and it's a good way to kind of get into the day. You drive to work, you scratch a little bit, you get an itch, but, Percocet, to me, was never like, oh, you're going to die. Vicodin was never like, oh, you're going to drop dead. Oxys are a different story. Certainly oxys that are laced with fentanyl are a different story. A lot of kids right now are taking very severe and serious drugs and dropping dead, and it's fucking very sad, and I don't know what's going to happen to this chick. I don't know what's going to happen to her, but she's going to have to go to jail for a long time. Going to have to go to jail, but I don't know if that's going to happen in this state. They might put her right back out on the street, But we talked about on the bonus episode, like, what would they do in Singapore? How would they handle it? They would hang her in Singapore. They would hang her. And I'm not saying that that should happen, but that's interesting. If you wanted to clean up society like really quickly, interesting. That's all I'm saying. Interesting. Cocaine, speaking of drugs, they found cocaine in the White House a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago. And it's 1,000% Hunter's. There's no way it's not Hunter. There's zero way it's not Hunter Biden's coke. Zero. Look at Hunter Biden. Get the video up of him on the White House. He's on a balcony, and he does what every cokehead does, who's like sweating and they don't quite know what to do with their hands. He's a little manic, and he puts his hand through his hair. He's still actively using drugs. I'm going to go out there and say it. I have no proof of this, but it doesn't matter. Hunter Biden is still using drugs. Let's look at Mr. Sober right here. So this is an event at the White House where Hunter Biden, I'm telling you right now, he's high on cocaine. You don't have to believe me. Yeah, he's high on cocaine.
He adjusts his nose right there, too. You see that?
Yes, because he's doing cocaine. And they know, Jill knows. And there's another, get it? There's another video of him as well. Like, look, here he is. Yeah, there he is. He's still, there he is. There he goes. Yeah. Yeah, he's getting, now where's he going? Where's he going? Where's he off to? Yeah. He's still, there he is. There he goes. Yeah. Yeah, he's getting, now where's he going? Where's he going? Where's he off to? Where is he going? Okay, I'll see you later. Then he goes with the wife, and now he's out. Where is he going? The party's on the deck right there. Right? Isn't that where the party is? Where's he going? Why is he leaving his entire family, including the president and the first lady, are standing on that balcony? The party's on the balcony, Hunty baby. Where's he off to? Could I guess? He's still on drugs, and this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. He probably knows that Percocet princess. She's probably on his laptop. But no, there's no way he's not. And by the way, I would also be on drugs if we were trying to present my father, who's riddled with dementia, as an appropriate candidate for the I mean, it's great. You got to think about. He never, I mean, the level of fraud you have to engage in, forget politics, to just pretend that Joe Biden's a functioning adult. The level of censorship you have to engage in is North Korean draconian censorship. Bottom up, top down, everybody's got to be silent. You got to go at everybody, random comedians, slash somebody here, demonetize, age-gate it, make people sign in. You got to really chip away at people's free expression. Because this is a guy that's clearly, you know, in some state of cognitive decline. And his son is there doing cocaine, and Jill doesn't look happy. Jill doesn't know what's going on. And Hunter is fiddling with his nose. If I was Hunter Biden, I would never touch my nose. Just because even if I had an itch, I would know the implication. The implication is bad. And I wouldn't leave anywhere. If everybody was on the balcony with the kids, I would stay on the balcony with the kids. I would not leave because I was an addict. It took me years and years and years to get over that. When people look at you, where you going? How have you been? You know you're an addict when for Christmas, instead of getting cash, you start to get gift cards. Gift cards mean that your family thinks you're a junkie. Now, maybe not anymore because it's more digital and those are more common, but back then they were not as common. It was the first generation of gift cards to come out. And everybody's like, oh, Timmy's having problems. Give him a gift card. You can go buy a CD at the wall. Here's the gift card to Sam Goody. And of course, we'd use them to cut coke up. You know, we ain't gonna stop us. But it takes a long time after you've reestablished yourself to gain the trust back of people. Now imagine you had documented every bad thing you had ever done on a laptop. Every hooker you ever fucked with a gun to her head, driving, you know, at crazy speeds, whatever he's documented on his laptop, okay? He will never in his lifetime, in 10 lifetimes, he will never be trusted again. This is a man who hooked up with his dead brother's ex. He will never be trusted again. This will never happen. Never, ever, 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 ever. He knows that. He knows he'll never get it back. The trust, he will be, and it's unfortunate, but he'll be looked at as some type of crackhead forever. So someone like that in his situation, it seems like, you know, the motivation for them to stop is low. Because he knows it's hard to get it back. And he knows whatever scams they were running with Burisma, that energy company in the Ukraine, they can't do that anymore. Everything's out in the open. He knows that. Speaking of the Ukraine and Russia, we're now sending cluster bombs. We're sending cluster bombs to the Ukraine. This is a good idea. Cluster bombs to
Alicia Justin, thanks for following. It's a rare game.
Russia will also use
what's up?
cluster
How's
bombs,
your day
by the
going?
way.
It's going
Vladimir
well.
Putin warned on Sunday that Moscow has,
Thank
quote,
you. How's
sufficient
yours?
reserves of its own cluster munitions.
I am doing great.
Yeah, baby. So, if you haven't paid attention yet, we'll sum it up for you. We do not want this war to end. We are scared. The Russia-Ukraine war is the Defense Department's SAG-AFTRA strike. They do not want it to end. They're not coming to the table. They don't care. They're upping the ante. Here's cluster bombs. They know Russia's got cluster bombs. As long as people are dying and people are building weapons, they win. That's all they're concerned about. The minute things start to look like they could be moving in a direction of peace, we will stop that. We will
Thank you for those kind messages. Very nice of you, thank you.
Absolutely, we have zero interest in that. Ukraine could use an increasing number of cluster bombs as its stockpiles of conventional shells run low. As it looks, so Ukraine is no longer winning the war. For a while they were, now they are not. You know, Putin goes, we have our own cluster munitions. You know, if they do something, we're going to do something. If they do it, we'll do it. And this is going to be a failed state. It's probably going to be a frozen conflict, meaning like nobody actually has a decisive victory. Hard to win the war, hard to win the peace. And it just becomes a perpetually dysfunctional state. And the war kind of goes on and it sucks up time and resources until, I guess, one of those governments is potentially overthrown and somebody comes in there. I don't know. I don't know. But I just think that it's funny now because we started this just like COVID. We were like, 2 weeks, we'll stop the spread, we'll slow it, it's fine. We started this going like, yeah, well, we're supporting the Ukraine. They were invaded by a hostile country, which is true. Absolutely true. And now we're like, let's give them jets. Let's give them cluster bombs. Let's get it going over there. Let's get it going. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And I would say that I no longer have I'm not going to keep bringing it up. I will just let whatever's going to go down over there, it's just going to go down. And I'm not going to focus too much time and attention on it because it's actually supposed to go away. You're not supposed to think about it. The goal is it's to be put away, and it's just that thing over there that happens where we give them all the money and the weapons and there's more death happening, but we can't think about it. We've got our own issues like the SAG strike. So we got to focus on things that matter, like are the dwarves and Snow White being objectified, and just keep giving cluster bombs over to the Ukraine. Check Drudge. I wanted to talk about something on Drudge too, that is just happening. So summer is getting hotter right now. I mean, I think the temperature in Vegas, when I'm going to be there on Saturday for the Win, the Encore Theater at the Win, it's going to be 115 degrees. How fucking insane is that? Vegas, this is one of the hottest summers ever. How are people coping with this heat?
Wanna see a trick?
How is it happening? Heat wave reaching right there, max strength, 128 degrees, peak. This is insane. The energy grids of these states are being pushed to the limits, and I don't know if they're going to fail or not. It's interesting to kind of see if an energy grid fails, you're looking at severe problems. You're looking at a lot of people losing their lives. Death Valley, people are still going to be tourists in Death Valley, California. It's like the hottest place on Earth. I think one year they got it. It's like 128 degrees. It's just an arid hellscape.
Have a
The only
paywall?
thing that survives there is like tarantulas and lizards. It's a very, very hot
What do you
part
mean?
of California. And people are still going. They're flocking there for tourism.
What's my
Because
paywall?
It's inexpensive. It's cheap. People go, sure, I'd rather die. Climate change gawking thrives as tourists flock to Death Valley with temperatures at 128 degrees. So, by the way, this is what I talked about, disaster tourism. Literally, this is something I talked about was going to happen. I said this was going to happen.
Oh, I
People
get
are
'em all the
finding
time.
Fun in the decaying planet.
All the
And
time.
this is kind of cool. It is kind of fun.
Shut down.
It is fun to go out and see, like, how bad it's getting. And
like
everybody
that.
is smiling. Look at that. Make that video big. She's smiling. They're happy.
I mean, I don't even need the services.
That's fun. Look, it's 133 degrees. Smile. That's fun. Ladies and gentlemen, so many people are having problems right now illegally with legality. It's a litigious society. And you have to sue. You have to sue. And you have to sue others that have hurt you, maimed you in any way. You have to sue them in their face. Call them and sue them. Sue them right now. Sue them till they're dead. Wake up every day and call a lawyer and sue.
And are you listening to?
It's
No,
the
I'm
only
listening
way
to
to
a
really feel
podcast.
fully American is to be in
Oh,
a
the
law.
Tim
I know
Dillon
several
show.
people in lawsuits right now and they feel great. Sue them. And you know, well, you go, oh, well, I don't know how to sue people. Yeah, I did. It's called Morgan & Morgan. It's a law firm. It's the biggest personal injury law firm in the fucking world. Morgan & Morgan. This is, you know, I don't want to be the one that predicts the future here. I don't want to be the person who constantly calls
This is
out
my dude.
that I'm always right, because I don't want to be right. You know, because the things I predict are not good, or usually. And I predicted a while ago that people were going to start having mental breakdowns in public, and they were going to start being rewarded for it. This is a big thing that I had. This is a big theme that I was saying, that people that need immediate help, that need to be
Just
put into
ban
the
them?
ambulance
Yeah.
and sent to a home, are
There's
instead
so many of them, though.
applauded
So
and
many.
lionized as a sort of visionary and a genius. And this is part of the society's breakdown, where you have some people that are clearly unwell, but they are being celebrated
Yeah.
for it. And it's and the people that are unwell, it's not even like
Just
they're
one
doing it
after
as a
the other,
con.
bro.
They don't even know. They're as
not-
shocked as anyone that they're being celebrated for how insane they are. And they just go with it. It's like anything. If you lose your mind and people start clapping and going, you lead us. You are our savior. Lead us. You go, okay. So this is the head of the National Education Association, who's clearly unwell. There's no other way to put this. This is someone who's lost it. And she's being applauded for it. If someone in my organization displayed this type of behavior, I would be incredibly concerned. Let's take a look.
I can hear Chief Seattle. crying out to us, urging us to remember when you know who you are, when your mission is clear, and you burn with the inner
I'm traumatized.
fire of an unbreakable will. No cold.
Dude, why is this
can
fucking
touch your
Kog'Maw
heart.
still? Oh, I
No
see.
deluge can dampen your purpose. And yea, you are those stars in the darkness. Your light will not be dimmed.
Is that really the real one? Dude, what the fuck is this match?
In a righteous fight for freedom, because you know who you are.
Who's this lady?
You know who you are. You are the NEA. Our mission is clear. We will advocate
Who the fuck
for
is
the
this lady?
rights of education professionals, and we will change this world for our students with that inner fire burning. We will never bend. We will never be broken.
We love those, bro.
We are the NEA, and we will always do what we must to be worthy of our students. Thank you, NEA, for all you do every day.
She said, for real, bro. She is charging up Super Saiyan. Dude, she's insane, bro. Oh my god.
NEA, onward.
She like did the Hitler salute at the end. She really got into it. Yeah, I mean, this is it's.
Oh, this is FF15, but they're not gonna
this is the type of
FF15 for
behavior
sure.
Now we're seeing it with Fran. We're seeing it here. We're seeing a type of hysteria that is a certain a mania, manic behavior that is being mainstreamed in American society and applauded and celebrated. People like this, and they go, "This is good." And no one knows what this woman is talking about.
Oops.
She's saying these very deep, meaningful things, but there are no specifics anymore about anything. If you've noticed, specifics have been driven out of the national conversation about most topics. Most topics, we no longer discuss anything in specifics. It's like, the night is long! It's like, what are you saying? What's happening? You know, Fran Drescher is, doing her whole thing, and you go, yeah, but what? Explain to me what this means. Tell me, word for word, what we're trying to do, we're trying to accomplish. And it just feels like we're getting away from that. We're just like completely divorced from any specifics. We're just, it's sort of a performance that is unfortunate. Airbnb, by the way, this is another thing that I called. Airbnb is dying. Airbnb is dying for a few reasons. And I'm not even gonna go into the fact that I'm banned from Airbnb. We all know why. A lot of us do. You can watch the episode. But Airbnb exploded during the pandemic. People really wanted to kind of vacation in other people's lives. The pandemic opened up every door of possibility. People were going, maybe I want to live in Houston. Maybe I want to live outside in Nashville. And an Airbnb allowed you to basically manufacture the experience of somebody who was living in that locale. You would stay in their house, you'd swim in their pool, you would go to the coffee shop, you'd see what it would be like to live in Charleston, or Atlanta, or Miami, or Austin, or Phoenix. Airbnb was huge. Hotels were closed, and the ones that were open didn't have services. You couldn't go to the gym, couldn't get any room service. It made a lot of sense to be by yourself with the other people that you were quarantining with in an Airbnb and cook your own food and sit out on the porch or on the back deck. Well, the world has come roaring back, and that has not been good for Airbnb. Airbnb's revenues are plummeting. They're down nearly 50% in cities like Phoenix and Austin. The Airbnb collapse is pretty real. And now a lot of these, and here's what happened with Airbnb. And I'm not going to rehash what I went through with Airbnb, except to say this. The crux of the problem that I had with those two women was that they expected me to clean up the house after I had paid a cleaning fee in excess of $400. I did later threaten to kill them. That wasn't, but the catalyst for the whole issue, and have them killed. I'm not going to kill them. Have them killed. Put money behind it and do it right. But the issue, the catalyst for it, was why am I paying a cleaning fee in addition to then having to clean? It didn't make any sense. It felt strange. It felt weird. So there was that whole big war, and of course Airbnb siding with them, which is fine. Now Airbnb is collapsing.
No, it's a hilarious story how he got banned from
But
Airbnb.
what had happened is Airbnb started as like this funky, cool thing, and then the rules came.
I think he's too tanky for me to
Can't
kill.
be outside
Right?
after 10 o'clock. No visitors.
Yeah, fuck.
We're watching you on camera. If we see anyone that we don't, you know, if anybody's got, they don't have a license, they can't be here. If they're not checked in, if they're not an official guest, we don't want to see them. Airbnb is weird and creepy. We used to check in Airbnbs that we were almost certain a guy was like there several minutes before we checked in. It was really weird. And we also felt a few times that they had entered the house when we weren't there, when we came back. Airbnb is a criminal
They want me to buy
organization.
Dark Seal.
A lot of disgusting people are renting their homes on Airbnb. They're voyeurs, they're spying on you, and they're potentially dangerous. This is the reality. This is no joke now.
This game, they need to
Airbnb
FF,
has
bro.
gotten away with a lot for a long time with this, and I think people have to start understanding how vulnerable you and your family are when you go to an Airbnb. A lot of the people who Airbnb out their homes are sick. They're sick. They're rapists, they're pedophiles, they're murderers. And the reason that they're trying to ensnare you in their disgusting home is so that they can kill you and your family. And that's why the I'm not saying it's a bad business model. I'm just saying that 50% of the ads have dropped 50% because 50% of people want to live. They want to live. They don't want their children to be kidnapped by the owner of the Airbnb, who's gonna make you clean the house up before they put you in a box in the basement.
God damn it.
Have you ever met anyone who Airbnb'd
I guess I
their
got the
house?
tower.
Let's be very honest. Have you ever met these? No. No one will admit it. No one will tell you they do it. So whoever these sick freaks are, whoever these disturbed, I've only spoken to a few people that have their houses on Airbnb, and they're all, without exception, disturbed. They're disturbed. I don't trust them. Remember that Airbnb story we did a while ago where somebody checked in and it was all like satanic imagery and all kind of, these are the types of people that are on Airbnb. Get up one of these people, one of these Airbnb hosts, and we'll listen to them in their own words, because I always like to give the opposing point of view time on my show. Of course, Airbnb did not do that for me, but that's okay. What I have discovered through my limited dealings with people on Airbnb that are renting out their homes is that there's something not quite right with them. There's something not quite. Oh dear. Here we are.
Here's what we've learned and what we've earned after 6 months on Airbnb.
And if you're new to the channel,
In July of 2021, we bought this house.
This
and
is it.
We renovated
Hold
it
this
for
for a
about
minute.
3.
So this is interesting because this is, again, this is a pandemic thing. We're going to realize by the end of this that this Airbnb, unlike Uber, unlike some of the great advancements and achievements of our business community and our tech community, Airbnb is an aberration.
finally.
It is unholy, it is satanic, it is demonic.
3.5 months, and then launched on Airbnb in November of 2021.
And we documented that entire experience, and we have a weekly vlog series about what it's like to own an Airbnb in the Joshua Tree area. So if you're curious
These were not the two, by the way, the two people they were lesbians. The two people that I had issues with on Airbnb were lesbians. And so it's not them. But this is what happened at Joshua Tree. A lot of people started coming up with these Airbnbs because everybody wanted an escape. And Joshua Tree, for a certain type of person, is a great escape. And I would like to know what they learned. What did they learn? What does a couple like this learn when they do Airbnb? Because usually the party line from all of these owners is that nobody respects my house. I just opened my house and people showed up and they started eating and living in it. I just wanted to make a little money, but people started showing up shitting in my toilet. Yeah, you rented out your house, you pig. People showed up eating and shitting in my house. They're all angry that people dared to do the thing they paid to do, which is live in the fucking house.
This first section's on deep cleaning, why it's necessary.
Okay.
First thing they learned.
Yeah, let's hear why that's necessary.
Deep cleaning is a must. We self-manage our property, so we come about once a month and do a deep clean where we just pull up all the rugs, get under everything, and just really make sure that the house is being maintained. Our cleaners really let us know what's going on in the house, kind of surface level.
It just allows you to look in places that your cleaners don't normally do, and it's your house, so you know if something's wrong, something's out of place, something's going to be an issue.
These people they're neat freaks, but they're clean freaks. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. I love how they're like, we self-manage, and then they're like, our cleaners. It's like, we do everything but clean. That's what them Mexicans are for. These white devils, they're obsessed with they're sick. Do you see in their eyes how sick they are? They're sick in the head, these people, and they're obsessive about their fucking shit house, and all they care about is like how spotless it is. Keep going.
So yeah, here's more cleaning.
That leads us to cleaners being the most important piece of your puzzle when it comes to your Airbnb. I cannot stress that enough. We had some issues in the beginning trying to find a great cleaner out here in the high desert. So you definitely have to weed through the weeds to get to the gems. It's a work in progress always, because maybe something is out of place or whatever, and it's always communication is key when it comes to your cleaners. And if you have a management company, don't even listen to this, because they're gonna be dealing with your cleaners. But if you are managing it yourself, that's like one of my full-time jobs is managing this house. So I'm always, Michael too, always in constant communication with our cleaners and them letting us know what's going on and just making sure that
I'm sorry. There's a spill in the sink. There's a spill in the sink. Do something. Constant communication with the cleaners. Lucky cleaners, huh? But these are the types of people. This thing with this group of people, there's a certain group of people who they gave their lives meaning by buying and renovating a house. It's strange. And then opening it up for other people to live in, and they're perpetually unhappy because they can't afford to live in their fucking house, because they think this get-rich-quick scheme causes these people to renovate this house, make it really nice, and then do what they never wanted to do, which is open the doors to other people, and then they become angry at their guests. They become enraged at their guests, like they've done something wrong, and they write all these passive-aggressive rules, and they tell them, it's basically like, hi, thanks for checking in, now fuck you. And let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. Look in their faces. They're unhappy that other people are coming into their home.
Here's the section on reviewing bad Airbnb guests. This is your situation right here.
for the first few months after you've launched your Airbnb, you're really relying on reviews, and you're terrified of getting bad reviews, right? But there's a thing called bad guests, and they'll happen. And you're going to need to speak your truth when you have guests that didn't follow the rules. That is a huge thing that we've learned
Oh,
We've had a
God.
couple bad guests, and we've given them decent stars as far as the review, and then within the review we say like what's up, what happened, so that other hosts know maybe we don't want to book them, or like caution when booking them.
Because we know we rely on, when somebody requests to book our place, we look at their reviews. And so at first we didn't realize how important that was, but now that we've had bad guests, we realize just how important that is. And just stepping your ego out of it, that's a big lesson.
Yes.
Removing your ego and just being like, hey, these are the things that, you know, didn't really line up with our checkout policy. Just do them in a nice way.
Our checkout policy, right? Because they want you, before you check out of an Airbnb, they want you to clean the entire house. You know, they take every bottle of water. God forbid there's a bottle of water in the refrigerator that's half drank. That's all got to get thrown out. The garbage has got to be out. The entire house has got to be cleaned, even though you paid a cleaning fee. Every towel's got to be washed and folded. It's like, guys, what's the fucking point? That's why the revenues are down 50%, and people like her and him are going belly up. And I love that. Pitch the tent. Because this is what's happening. These people are out. They're being driven out of the market. They're being driven out of the market because they have a sick and twisted obsession, okay, with this weird curated experience they're trying to give people that required, like when she's like, you didn't follow the rules. You see her face when she said that? You see her face when she said that? These are power-hungry psychopaths that own these things. And when she said that, you didn't follow the rules, what she was basically saying is, I get to boss other adults around. I get to give them bad ratings. I get to give them a report card. I get to give them a report card because they didn't follow the rules in my shitbox at Joshua Tree. And you could slip out who they slip out every now and then who they really are. It was very hard to find a cleaner in the high desert. You gotta weed through a lot of weeds. It's very hard to find a slave in the desert. Can't find any slaves in the desert. There's not enough good slaves in the desert for me. All right, let's finish up with them.
You don't need to piss anybody off.
If you need a vent, go to your journal or your best friend, not Airbnb like it's Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What?
So dogs are going to come into your house whether you like it or not, and this is for our California and New York friends. We have gotten an abundance of requests asking, we'd love to book your house but saw you didn't have a pets, we have an ESA animal. If it's a certified service animal, absolutely no problem.
That's fake.
ESA animal, no problem.
Fake.
But there is some sort of confusion and weird trickiness in the way people use the ESA animal. California, we can't charge for pet fees for a guest who visits with an ESA animal.
And that kills you.
And we are not allowed to decline the presence of an ESA. And where it gets kind of tricky is you're not allowed to ask for...
I actually agree with them on this. It's fake. Because California's government is stupid. They allow people to scam you by taking their dog to your house and saying it's an emotional support animal, which is fake and doesn't exist. It exists only for severe autism and blind people. Everyone else, that's it. And I mean severe autism, meaning like you're nonverbal or it's like 5 words. If you are not severely autistic or blind, you do not get to walk around with a dog that you like to squeeze. It's all stupid. But they really can't say that. All right, anyway, we're not going to go on and on with them. They're no better and no worse than the other people that are doing this. But what I'm telling you right now is that I'm very, very happy that this is happening in Airbnb because the American public are getting smarter. They don't want to be subject to this type of insane treatment when you're spending money. And to see these two, the passive-aggressive anger, how, excited they get about rules and the checkout policy, it takes all the fun away from owning a house. It takes all the fun away from earning money. It takes all the fun away from providing service to people. And that's why Airbnb is collapsing. And the only people anyone who's staying in Airbnb now is a fucking loser. Sorry. If you're in Airbnb now, you're a killer. You're gonna kill someone. Because there's no person. I have not heard am I wrong? Are you guys hearing about people going to Airbnbs now? It's hotels are back, bitches. Airbnbs are no. What are you doing walking into somebody's house? What the fuck's that about, you freak? Go to a hotel. Let's kill this thing. Let's kill this thing. Once and for all. Let's get rid of Airbnb. Let's make it illegal. Let's see it for what it is. A place where violent white people do horrible things. Can we get rid of it now? Ladies and gentlemen, the American royalty.
We have some new tour dates, and these are... I'm grateful to chop it up with my buddy today, Mr. Jim Gaffigan.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song I will sing it. I'm upset.
I don't know what you're, you know, if you're with a podcasting thing or, but it's like the impact. See, that looks better, probably.
Yeah, that looks nice.
I'm a good-looking guy.
Yeah, well,
So does it feel like you're getting?
Does it
you've
feel
got
like the
something
podcast is
special
getting
here?
busier?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's getting busier. I feel like we've been really lucky. I think we're independent too, since we don't work with a network. I think that people like that.
What makes you connect with people? I mean, it's the everyman thing, but it's also like, is there another, you know, authenticity? People crave that, right?
Yeah, maybe they do. I think they probably do, especially these days, you know?
Yeah.
I think we want to try and, I mean, yeah, if I hear something that seems that's real or somebody's talking about something that means something to them, I think it means a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know why. We've been really fortunate. Yeah, we've gotten to have some unique guests. I think, you know, I've always enjoyed talking to all different types of people. You know, I think I'm a late learner kind of. You know, some podcasters, they have a lot of information.
Right.
I don't have it.
Right.
But I am curious about a lot of stuff.
Curiosity is key, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I want to learn still. You know? Yeah, you look handsome, man.
Oh, thank you.
What's the most handsome you've ever felt in your life? You ever think about that? Like, was there ever
That's a very good question. You know, as a male model, I struggle with it. No, I don't think I've ever really felt particularly handsome. I always seem to look at pictures from the past and go, oh, I should have been happier. Right?
Yeah.
Having teenagers, you know, it's so brutal being a teenager. And I'm like, dude, you got it good. Your metabolism's working still.
Yeah.
You can have a pint of ice cream. Doesn't make a dent.
Your dexterity.
Yeah.
Your hair health is your hair is strong.
You know, like
you don't have a mustache yet.
They don't hear, like when people like aches and pains. They don't have aches and pains really.
Not a chance.
But I don't know. I never really felt particularly good looking. I feel like that's never been an asset. How about you?
You seem like, I feel like in a Nordic area, you would be a. I could see you being like
Hasselhoff in Sweden.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you.
Like a Nordic kind of mountain model.
you know, like among comedians, there is this strange thing where I think some comedians get embraced as being attractive, but I don't think that's not a theoretical thing that, you know, like Steve Carell, like I think there was like, this is just maybe me, you know, getting it from Twitter, but you know, women were like, Steve Carell, you know, it's like, I'm like, Steve Carell.
Yeah, that's.
And so
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, but I don't think that's not in the likelihood or the possibility for me.
What about like in the 1700s or something? Like, was there a time period you think? Because I think you're handsome. Your height, you're tall, so that gives you some handsomeness.
Well, pale, you know, and then there was the Rubenesque period, like.
Oh yeah,
you know, like being pudgy means that you're not poor, and being pale means that you're not working in the field. But I don't think that's been relevant.
Oh, you'd have been The Rock, dude, in the 1600s.
1600s, I would have been. People would have been. There would have been posters. I mean, they all would have been drawn. Like, did you see how pale and fat that guy is? Oh my God.
God, he's beautiful.
He's so hot.
Is that Emily Ratajkowski?
Right? I would be like the male Ratajkowski of... Think about like the breakthrough. I mean, there's so many beautiful women. But Emily Ratajkowski, like you brought that up, I knew exactly what you mean. What is it about her, and how long have you been dating her?
Yeah.
Because it's not out of the possibilities. I'm a married man, but I don't know. You could date her.
I don't get Emily Ratajkowski. I get.
You don't get it? You don't.
I get that she's pretty.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, she looks pretty to me, but I don't get hit on by that type of gal.
No.
No. I get. Who do I get?
Well, let's put it out there.
I get a lot of like people like, you know, kind of rural women.
Right.
Will send me like a nude picture, kind of be like, drive out here and eat this. They'll say stuff like that.
Because they're ladies, right?
Good point.
And but they're like, it sounds like it involves some travel.
Yeah, well, it's out.
Travel.
A lot of them are outside of the city limits.
It's a connecting flight too, which is like, you're like, you know, but you know, I'm kind of a suburban rural guy too.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I think, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but like there is something of, I mean, look, I live in New York and I've lived in New York for 30 years, but like when like these different markets, you know, these cities or smaller towns, like I have a good time there. Like when I hang out in Cedar Rapids or Fort Wayne, I'm like, and I'll go to a restaurant, I'm like, yeah, this feels very familiar, and like,
want your pie first, sir?
No, no, but do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
it's like a steakhouse in Cedar Rapids. Yeah, I'd prefer that than a super fancy restaurant in New York or LA.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I think I do too. I think you feel more at ease, more comfortable, more likely to see a fight. I feel like there's more, you know, somebody will come over and say they like your blouse or your shirt or something. You can wear an apron in there and people don't look at you weird.
Yeah, you know, like there is, like if a guy, no one's in an outfit. Like that's
right.
Like if no one's kind of dressing like Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
They dress like Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'll see the most beautiful women.
Oh God,
the most beautiful. Like, you ever been to like?
That's Monsanto, dude. Monsanto will preserve a babe. You know what I'm saying? You get some of those field dames, those daughters of farm hands, brother.
Oh, well, I just think of like times when I've been on bus tours with my family and we'll go horseback riding, and there will be just like working at some horse ranch, the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh.
And, you know, she probably sleeps with the horses and she smells like the horses, but not an ounce of makeup on her, and she's better looking than any woman in the city.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a great guy. I don't know if I brought that up yet.
No, I think. Look, you seem like a great guy, and I think it's yeah, it's interesting. I think like how we feel beauty, how we feel if we're handsome. I think it's interesting because I'll look at old pictures of myself as well, and be like, man, you had a chance with girls. You didn't think you had any chance in the world,
right?
But you had it. You were, or you just thought so lowly of yourself. But man, you were doing good.
Yeah. Now
you wasted the time. That's what I feel like sometimes. I go back on it.
Well, I think there's anxiety. And there's the chemicals racing through you when you're a teenager. It's hard. By the way, I think having a couple teenagers, I think it's way harder to be a teenager now than it was.
Is it really?
Oh, brutal. So when we went to high school, we were compared to this pool of people in our school. I mean, kids today, they're compared to everyone on social media. It's brutal.
Oh, that's true. I never thought about that.
And so, like, also the adventures that we would go on to, like, find,
mushroom,
weed, or pornography.
Oh,
it was an adventure, and now it's kind of thrust on these kids, and so, I'm sure there's scientific explanation, but it's almost like, you had to go on a scavenger hunt to even get in trouble, at least for me.
Right, so there was a journey to it too.
Yeah.
You
Whereas now it's it's pretty easy. You can get it delivered now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's great when you're 30, 40, but like when you're 15 or 18, it's like it's almost too easy to get weed now.
Oh, yeah, it's too easy to get high. It's too easy to get anything. I mean, I remember with pornography, we had this dude in our neighborhood named, they called him Skittle was his nickname, and he was like impaired or whatever.
Yeah.
He had impairment.
Well, what kind of impairment?
He didn't have, his legs didn't work.
Yeah. So he was handicapped.
He was bipedal or whatever. What is that called?
Paraplegic?
Yeah, this para.
So like just his was he in a wheelchair?
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair, but sometimes they would at the video store his handler or whatever, who was his cousin, would like get him out and let him crawl into the nudie room in there.
Oh, that's nice.
And people would be, you would kind of, because you knew he was probably, and I hate to say this, you knew he was never going to mate in his life, right? Probably.
Well,
but people would be so excited. They'd be like, Skittles in the nudie room.
Skittles. And was he called Skittles because he enjoyed the candy Skittles, or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think he said, from what I think he liked all candies, I remember, but he just, people, I don't know. There was just something excited about him. People would be like, oh, Skittles in the nudie room, and people would be so excited.
It's so amazing how there was a nudie room. There was I mean, the Blockbuster was just kind of like, hey, we're not going to have that.
Yeah, we don't believe in that.
But like the off kind of like the independent stores, there would be kind of like movie, like regular movies, and then there would be like the R-rated, I mean the kind of like naughty stuff, and you would have to like, if you would go, even as a teenager or like in your 20s and you had curiosity, you needed a reason to go over there.
Right.
You needed like, hey, why don't we go over here just to check it out? Like you couldn't go in and make a beeline for it.
Yeah.
You had to be like, this is so silly. What's this stuff? Oh my gosh, what's this?
Yeah, are they selling cigarettes in here?
Yeah, what is this? Oh, this is gross.
Yeah.
But now a kid just turns on. I mean, by the way, Twitter, like, I don't know if you get this.
Twitter's very dangerous.
It's like, there's like, I don't know, open the pictures just because I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
But there's like, they set the spam or the robots send you pornography.
That's insane.
And you're like, I'm trying to like, because, you go through a process, I think, most men, where you're like, all right, I'm going to set some boundaries. There's nothing too productive in consuming pornography. So I'm gonna set up some boundaries or some barriers. But like when it's thrown at you,
Yeah. And why are robots doing that? That makes me believe even more in like in UFOs when people are like, yeah, they took me somewhere,
Yeah.
they put something in my butt, and
Yeah.
they dropped me back off. Like it's always,
they're always putting stuff in people's butts too.
and and at first I'm like, would they really do that? But then now that I see that these other robots are just emailing people, like it's, you know, these bots or whatever, like emailing porn to people. It's like, obviously these aliens are perverts.
I don't know if it's aliens, but I don't know what. I mean, I guess I've never clicked on it, but like, I guess it's to get you to watch their porn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think different people want you like, come over here, step right up, you know?
Yeah.
We'll guess how much semen's in you, you know, we'll guess your weight in semen or whatever.
When I was a teenager, I thought you had a limited supply. I thought you could run out.
Oh, dude, the first erection I ever got, it was coming up, and I thought it was like a poop in my body that it was going the wrong way.
That's a normal response.
And
you really thought it was a poop?
Yeah, it was so scary because it was the same shape, and I was like, oh my God, dude, one of my poops is lost.
I mean, even like, it's just so...
It was so scary. Remember part of your body growing and people thought it would grow forever? I had a buddy who got so scared he thought his whole body would grow into a wiener and like there would be nothing left of him, and then the wiener would grow and then it would go back and he would reform.
Yeah, I just remember having leg spasms. And did your nipples hurt?
Yeah. Remember that? No one talked to you about it.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was growing up, no one talked to you about any of that stuff. You know, there was just you had to figure it out, and I thought I was mentally ill. I mean, I am mentally ill, but like, I thought, oh my God, you know, I'm like the biggest pervert in the world. And the reality is, I was just like a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You know what I mean? Yeah. No one was like, hey, because I've kind of done that. I'm like, look, hey, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Yeah. It just means, I'm not saying engage in it. You know, I'm not saying go full animal. You know, even though some people do, but like, you know, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah, it's true that I think in the past there's been a lot of that energy, like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like if you walked up to a monkey at the zoo, because monkeys, they say some of the monkeys will masturbate and stuff 6 to 7 times a day at the zoo. So if you saw somebody walk in there to one of them and be like, you know, sit them down in a chair on the side of the...
Shame them.
Yeah.
Say, you're filthy.
Yeah, you're filthy.
Stop
you're
behaving
bad.
like an animal.
Yeah. Or I'm not going to drive you to school in the morning if you keep doing this. You'd be like, that person's crazy for saying that to that monkey.
Right. Or there'll probably be some people that are like, finally someone's telling that monkey to stop doing that. It's all relative, right? And then there's people that would be like, I can't believe that you're judging that monkey's behavior. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there would be somebody else being like, that monkey can choose its own pronouns. And we'd be like, it's not about that, okay? The monkey is just jerking off too much.
And, you know, there's that, and then there's also throwing the shit.
Yeah,
right?
they throw a lot of, anything that comes out of their body, they're willing to throw it.
Why do we, I feel like...
Kind of like Mardi Gras.
We have, you know, but there's no beads, right?
Anna Carmel, what up?
Or maybe that's their beads, right?
Just throwing that out.
They're naked all the way. Like, it's not like they're even flashing, because, like, supposedly if you flash, then...
I'm good.
Like women flash.
Yeah, they
Mardi
show
Gras
their breasts to see the beads, but to get the beads. But the problem was at Mardi Gras, and I'll say this, man, is that the breasts you saw
were good or bad.
They were not good.
Right.
They were drunk. They looked like some of them had been drinking, like the breast alone had been drinking.
Right.
By itself, even some of them.
Yeah.
That's
another problem with pornography is we set up false expectations of what breasts are supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That's another reason not to watch porn. Right.
Well, you've kind of gone with the game. I mean, I'm sure you've seen in your lifetime where fake breasts really popped off. Do you remember the first time you were like, wow, they're putting in...
Yeah, there was I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm not a huge...
It's going good.
there's part of me that's the whole huge breast thing. It doesn't. It's weird, you know. Like for me, it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? And some guys like big breasts. Some guys like big butts. I'm kind of, you know, I don't know.
Decent woman.
Yeah, I like shape, but I don't like. And it's a mystery to me because some guys really like big butts. Some guys really like. I remember when I first started stand up, I was doing some road gig, and this headliner was like, "Here, I want to show you something," and he showed me, and it was a Polaroid of him with a woman that had like enormous, like gigantic, and he was kind of bragging. He was like, "See who I met," and I was like,
"This is what you're headed towards, brother."
I was like,
"You play your cards
and like,
right."
And I wanted to be polite, and I was polite, but I was like, "That's that's obviously she needs help." You know what I mean? But like, and I didn't want to rain on his parade, but he was like, "That's what got him off." That was like he was. I'm sure he probably still has that Polaroid.
Yeah.
He probably, like maybe if he was, maybe when he dies, he's buried with the Polaroid of the woman with the gigantic boobs. Yeah. Some guys, it's interesting how
that's all they care about, boy. They're looking at boobs.
Different tastes.
Yeah, I think. Well, they started to get. Well, yeah, some of the boobs started to look like somebody had filled up a Glad bag too big. You know.
Right.
You ever have that
Right.
when somebody pulls a Glad bag out of like at a restaurant when they're doing the dumpster, and they pull the bag out of that can and it's way too heavy for the bag,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's not gonna make it. And there's liquid.
It's
drip.
like, yeah,
There's liquid dripping out, and you're like, that's gonna be a mess. You know what I mean? That's just gonna be a mess. It's weird. I need to know. All right, so are you a big boob guy or a little like? If you told me you're like, I like enormous boobs, I wouldn't be shocked, and I don't mean that as an insult.
No, it's fine.
But like, are you a big boob guy? Are you a big butt guy?
I think I'm more of probably a. I think I like I think I'm more of probably a mid-range. I like a little bit of buttocks.
Yeah.
You know, I like a woman that's healthy enough to conceive.
Right.
You know, I don't like. I'm not into those kind of needle army looking. You know, the kind of girls who look a little bit too weathered.
Yeah.
You know, like I need a woman that's healthy enough to be able to have a family.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing for me. You know, there was what was the question you asked me?
It was about like types of women. Because here, I'll bring this up. My brother, one of his, he liked a woman that looked good in a baseball cap and a turtleneck, which I thought was really interesting. And I mean, that's a setup for a joke. He's, you know, like now he's like a serial killer.
Right.
No, but it is interesting. He really, like, if she looked cute in a baseball cap, he was like, she looks good. Yeah, she's great. You know what I mean? And so, like, there's different things. There's types, right?
That's a good point. There's different scenarios you want your woman to look good in, kind
Right.
of. That's it. That's a really good point.
Right. It's kind of like, you know, I remember when I was considering asking my wife to marry me, I was like, you know what? I could have fun folding laundry with her. I mean, now we hate each other, but at the time, we could totally.
But you've earned that hatred.
But it is like one of those things where it's not just about how they look in a small skirt. You know what I mean? It is about, you know, and not just like they're fun at, you know, at a
ski
club
ball
or
or
something. Right. But it is interesting.
First impressions matter. They do. You know, it's important. How do you present yourself? And for me, I like to take care of myself. I like to take care of my skin, keep my skin decent and manicured, baby. That's what I like to do. And I use Caldera Lab. I use their regimen. It's called The Regimen, actually. And Caldera Lab creates a high-performance men's skincare product. And the regimen leads off their product lineup. It's a twice-a-day routine to transform your skin. God, look at his skin. I want some of it. That's right. The Caldera Lab, the bundle. You'll find the skincare dream team, the clean slate, the base layer, and the good. They even have an eye serum, if you like that, called the Icon. If you don't like all that, that's fine. But if you do, Caldera Lab, get 20% off with our code Theo at Caldera Lab. That's CALDERALAB.com. That's 20% off at calderalab.com by using code Theo. Jump into skin and first impression royalty with Caldera Lab.
So your ideal woman, let's put it out there.
Okay,
Who
let's
is
put it
your
out there
ideal
then.
woman?
I would say she has nice eyes, like kind of caring eyes.
Like eyes. Oh, warm eyes.
Warm eyes.
Yes, because that is true.
It's important. It's important to the kids, too.
Yes, definitely.
You know, you don't want some cold-eyed, freaking slithering broad.
Yeah.
You know, making, even serving muffins to your children.
No.
So warm-eyed. I would say hardworking.
Hardworking. Sense of humor is really important.
Yeah, sense of humor or the ability to laugh. Even being able to laugh, though, is also like having an inverse sense of humor. Like if somebody's a good laugher, I think it's just as, it's almost better than a sense of humor because at least they're having the joy, you know?
By the way, the hard worker thing I think is really key too.
Yeah?
Yeah, my wife is a very hard worker, and that's great because then you can do less. No, but it is. I mean, we have a similar work ethic. We enjoy working. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say working. I'm not saying like, hey, let's go grab some construction shifts.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, it's fulfilling for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and life's hard work. It's like if you want to stay in a marriage, it seems like it's a lot of, like, if you really want anything to work, you got to do it. You know,
You
that's what
gotta
it
suck
seems
up.
like.
Yeah. How tall?
How tall? I would say anywhere probably 5'6" to 6'1".
Okay. And how tall are you?
I'm willing to go on the outlier side with the height. I am 6 foot.
You wouldn't care if she was taller.
I don't think I would care as long as she didn't do little things to me, like probably pat me or something like that.
Or call you
know?
shorty.
Yeah. yeah. Or say, hey, give me that little wiener. You know, like things like that.
And what about do you want her to be younger than you, older than you?
I would probably say younger than me. You know, I want her to be able to bear children if she wants to.
Yeah.
But then I got to make sure that I'm in a good space too. You know, I don't want to be some philanderer.
Right,
and I don't want to be a man who's peeking over the fence and, you know, talking to the neighbor's wife.
Right.
And I don't want to be...
you shouldn't be neighborly. You shouldn't be talking even to a neighbor. No, but you're saying, so you want to also be mature. You want to be to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing any more, like, I don't want to do any more conniving or any, like, I just want to be locked in.
Yeah.
Did you have a point where you were like, was it scary for you when you were like, okay, I'm going to get married, this is it? Like, did you have your mom, like, who dropped you off to go ask your wife, or you drive over there, or how did you do it?
I was, my mom dropped me off. No, I was at my brother's house. We'd gone back, we used to go back and we'd go to Indiana, and then we'd drive through Chicago and go to Milwaukee, where my wife's from. And my wife and I, we had this agreement that she was going to tell me when she was ready to be proposed, because, the whole, there's no risk. You don't want them to be like, no, and you don't want you to process no. So, and we had talked about, we had dated for a while, and I was at my brother's place, and we were smoking a cigar in his garage, and I said, I tell you, if I had a ring, I probably would ask you. And he goes, oh, I can give you a ring. I'll give you Mom's old ring. I used it, and you can use it. And I was like, oh. And so then...
You're really on the spot.
And I was like, all right. But, again, I had also kind of made that decision. Do you know what I mean?
Right, so the decision had already been made.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, my brother told me to do it, so I did it. You know what I mean? So, and then we went up there, and I knew that I kind of wanted to surprise her. And so I did it right in front of her entire family. She's one of 9 kids, and we had done opening presents, and I had asked her dad for permission. He was like cooking in the kitchen. He's kind of a great guy, but like at that point we didn't know each other that well. So he was like taking something out of the oven. I was like, hey, I'd like to ask your daughter to marry me. And he's like, yeah, okay. And so then we were opening presents, and all the presents had been opened, and then I did it, and it was.
Did you feel nervous when you get down on one knee?
What's up? Well, I think as a comedian, there's so many. There's so many awkward situations we go in.
That's a good
point.
point.
Where you have a show where you eat shit. You have a show where you do okay, but you can tell half the audience thinks you're a moron. You know what I mean? So like, it was awkward. It was nice, but I'm also, these watershed moments for me are, they're not nearly as important as like, the moment where I feel like I really connected with my wife. Like my child being born, there was, it was special, but it's not as special as like, the time when you take a walk with them.
Right.
For me.
And
you know what I mean?
And there's like a real connection.
You know what I mean? Or like.
Right. Those are kind of just built-in tentpole moments that are kind of almost, I don't want to say old-fashioned. They're very important.
Yeah.
But that it's not like, it doesn't mean everything.
For me, if I'm being honest.
That's a good point. No, I think it's a really good point for everybody. We put all these it's almost like we put these kind of like tyrannical, like emotional attachments to these moments, even though they might not be there because times have kind of changed. So having a wedding these days, which is really just a huge party that takes so much planning, which is more about the planning than it is even the vows.
Yes, and the unnecessary stress.
Oh God!
Put on
and the sangria, all these.
Yeah.
Just
a lot. Oh my God, the bread was wrong. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, who cares, dude?
Right?
I barely know this woman.
Who cares? She's pregnant. That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah, has anybody mentioned that? They should have a vote at weddings, like, should we do it or not? And people have to really vote.
That's funny.
Wouldn't be a bad idea, would it?
I mean, a silent, and because it's also your loved one, so it's a really harsh thing. And you shouldn't be able to open it until the next day. It's like the vote came in. Well, it's like a Rotten Tomato score, like as long as we get 80%.
Yeah, that's it.
But you're like, 43%. Yeah, that's not good. But what the audience score say?
A lot of old tropes and misdirected plot twists, but
a lot of people don't believe in me. They think I'm gonna cause the disaster.
Your family should have a vote. I feel like, because you're bringing that genetics into your gene pool.
Well, yeah,
it feels like the family overall should have a vote.
Well, there's also something that happens where I think it's probably different in different cultures and different family cultures, but you kind of get absorbed. I feel like the men get kind of absorbed into the woman's family.
Yes.
Much more than the woman getting absorbed into them. I mean, obviously
That's a good point.
Yeah, and there is something of, like when you're dating someone and you meet their parents, you're like, okay, so this is the future, right? In some ways. But also their relationship. And my wife's mother is like a saint, and her dad's a real sweet guy. So I was like, all right, I'm in good shape. It was totally misleading. No, but it was fine.
Dude, I had an ex-girlfriend. Her dad would always be like, hey, he would say, like, whenever nobody was in the room, he'd be like, hey, listen to me. He would pass gas. He'd say, listen to me fart. And then he'd be like, don't tell anybody. Wow. And he was real serious about it. And it was so strange. And I'd never even said anything about it until now, but I just can't believe he even did that. Who would do that?
Yeah, that's very strange.
It's really weird. I think having, like, somebody dating your daughter, you don't have any power, really.
No, you have no power. And,
And the kid is a pervert, whoever he is.
Absolutely. He's a boy.
He's sick.
He's a boy.
Yeah.
I have a 19-year-old and I have a 14-year-old daughter. And so when my 14-year-old, when she was 13, and she would bring over these guys, and I would try and, like you try different tactics as a dad. You're like, I'm going to be the friend. Yeah. And you want to get to know them, and they're all, they're boys, they're liars, right? And so I remember there was this one kid who ended up being really sweet, but I was kind of like, and I'm kind of like inappropriate. I try to test the boundaries, so I'm like, nice to meet you. I'd like to, would you like to see my knife collection? Thinking that would be really intimidating. And he's like, oh my God, I'd love to see a knife collection. And I was like, that's not what I wanted you to say. He was like, oh, cool, you got a knife collection? I'm like, no, I was trying to frighten you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but they also know, you're not going to hurt them. You know what I mean?
And you can't anymore. That's one of the problems, too. And that's where a lot of fathers have lost a lot of their power. They used to have the ability to fire a warning shot into the air.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's gone. Yeah, I was thinking about, it's so, like, even, like, us, what we think about ourselves, how we look, like, I mean, I think a lot of comedians a lot of males got into it because they felt it was their way of gaining attraction from women.
I think so.
You think, I think so, too.
Totally.
Probably.
I remember witnessing, like I had no confidence at all until my 30s anyway, but I remember, I had it in fits and spurts, but I remember when I started headlining at a comedy club, and I would stand in the back watching, this is like they didn't have green rooms or anything like that, and I would stand in the back kind of watching, and I would see people come in, and there would be, attractive women coming in with their friends or dates or whatever, and they would be like, who are you? They didn't know who I was. They didn't care. And then I would do the show, and then those same women would be treating me completely differently. And intellectually, I would know, it was the show. They think I'm something that I'm not. They think that I'm something special. I have to make a point of never believing the hype. And then after 6 months, I was like, you know what? I'm good looking. I kind of totally bought the hype.
Yeah.
Like, so we just get we're so dumb. We're so dumb. It's like, it's not that I'm on stage and commanding authority over a crowded room of 300 people. It's because they actually think I'm good looking. Essentially, I'm just a fool. You know what I mean?
But then some guys who are not attractive men their confidence gets them to attractive.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's really part of the trick, I think.
Yeah. I even feel like when you look at, remember when you would, I don't know if you'd ever look at a yearbook and, or photos of when you were a kid, and you'd see a kid that you'd be, a girl, you'd be like, oh my God, she was really good looking.
Yeah.
And why didn't we think, because she was struggling, you know what I mean? And didn't have the confidence. And whereas there were girls that were confident, that we were just like, because we were dumb boys, we were like, duh, they think they're good looking, maybe they're good looking.
Yeah.
And it's so much of it is confidence. And it's like, I just wish as a parent I could just, because my kids are pretty confident, but I just wish that, like, in those moments, because I remember being a teenager, it's hard.
Yeah, huh?
And people are like, just act confident. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm filled with anxiety.
Yeah. And I remember having acne so bad. Did you ever have acne?
Oh, I was this pale kid, and whenever I would talk in public,
You would
I
turn
would
red.
Turn red.
Oh.
And so I was just this goofy guy who was pale, and like, I was the palest person anyone had ever seen.
Oh.
So it was, but that's probably, contributed to me being a comedian.
Like a dumpling kind of.
Yeah, I was like a marshmallow.
Oh.
You know, but a marshmallow that would turn red. I was a strawberry flavored marshmallow.
Wow, dude. Yeah. Well, it's what's really interesting is if you think back to like the beginning of before they had mirrors and stuff, the only way you knew if you were the way you probably is if somebody told you how attractive you were or how handsome or beautiful you were. So that had to be I bet that's when like connection was a lot stronger too between people, because imagine if the way somebody's like, you're beautiful, and you don't have any real thought of that yourself because you have never seen a reflection of yourself. And the way it makes you feel, you're like, wow, that feeling is so powerful. I feel really connected to this person.
Yeah. No, it's like, well, back then, I mean, how bad did they smell?
But
you know
they
what I mean?
both smelled bad.
They both, I guess you got used to it, right?
I think not having shit on your legs was probably like that means you were ready to go out on the town. Because I feel like that would be something, I'm going to wash my legs off.
Well, that's what all the cologne and the perfume was for, is to cover up
bad smell.
The smell of butt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
God. It'd be so much nicer if your butt was a little further away from you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or you could detach it.
Ugh.
Yeah, but like, I mean, showering, like, you ever like been on the road and you're like, you have to wear the same underwear for 2 days?
Yeah.
Like, it's a crisis. And then like...
And they get warmer.
But, but when you're a teenager, you don't care.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
You don't care at all. But like, as an adult, it's also just like the comfort level. Like, I used to be able to sleep on like a bag of rocks, and now if I'm like, if I don't have this one pillow in my arms, then the baby can't sleep. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, man. Yeah, getting older is interesting. What we thought we looked like when we were younger is interesting. And it's amazing how much you can transpose or share with your children, but how many things you cannot share. It's amazing how many like lessons that we all go through, but we can't. There's no real clear way to share that to a kid so they don't have to deal with the tragedies of it.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. There's so many times when I'm talking to my kids where I'm like, I don't even know why I'm saying this, because it's like, you're not going to hear it from me.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go through it. It's like, even when you're, you know, like kids driving, like, I'm sure when you were driving, there was moments where you're like, holy cow, I just really moved right now. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like your parents hadn't said, you know, you got to make sure you look. But you don't hear that. It's just white noise.
Yeah, your parents are just, Your parents are creepy people you can't even believe they had sex before.
Yeah, it's just gross to think. It's really rude how gross you think your parents having sex is, considering it's how you have it. You're like, oh, I guess, I wonder if that's a factor in self-esteem. Like, if people with really high self-esteem are like, you know, the idea of my parents making love is a beautiful thing. Because it's just like, even your parents kissing, it was like, oh. Right?
Oh, it's horrible. I remember if my dad tried to kiss my mom would fucking kind of threaten him with the cake cutter.
That's good. That's good. She was a cake cutter. Why, was there always cake? Like, did you have dessert growing up?
No, on birthdays, we had cake.
Yeah.
And that's when they would have some champagne together.
Oh, really?
And my dad would inch over and try to get a kiss on her. And she would raise that fucking cake cutter. The one that had the prongs, it was like...
Oh, yeah.
It had the handle and then like that, and then a bunch of straight prongs. It looked like a comb almost.
It was kind of like a server and a cutter. It was a multi-purpose
thing.
Oh, wow.
That thing would take,
What is that?
That was for the cake.
Is that kind of like a Cajun thing? Because we didn't have cake cutters like that.
I don't know.
What's all the like the fingers going down?
I think you could probably play a song. I mean, who knows? I don't know. It could have had a xylophone tendencies. I don't know what some of the backstory of it was.
Yeah, that harp. What happened to that harp? That harp was everywhere. No, the doing doing.
Oh, that little hand harp.
What happened to that harp?
I don't know. Yeah, what was that thing? Well, what happened to snuff, dude? What happened to a cute old lady in church taking a frickin' hit of that tobacco powder to the dome?
You know, like the chewing tobacco thing. I did that. Did you do that?
I never did it.
Yeah, that was a big thing. I remember.
But snuff did you do?
I did Copenhagen.
I mean the powder you would
Oh,
snort.
no, but I've tried that.
God,
I
yeah.
had tried that. So, like, that's just sniffing tobacco.
Yeah, that's got to
Right?
make a comeback.
I would think that would, right? Because that's probably a pretty interesting high. But I would think it's really bad for you. What if we got nicotine in our brain cavity? Because
Yeah, Ricky ain't doing well. He's got a
so
quarter.
snuff. Oh, see, I thought that's the same container as chewing tobacco.
Right, that's long cut. Now that's an actual cut that you put into your lips. Snuff is more. There's dry snuff right there. If you click on that one down.
Yeah.
One down, right there.
Yeah.
There's dry snuff in that one. If you zoom in on that, Zach, and you can see that with that's just a beautiful dust right there.
The snuff. It's interesting because so Copenhagen, Kodiak, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they introduced the pouches, or maybe the pouches were always there and I never knew about them.
Yeah.
But those were all started in Scandinavia because it was cold outside and it was windy, so they had to, how they consumed tobacco was kind of chewing on it, as opposed to where they could light it.
Right, it'd be easier
if it was warmer out. You know what I mean?
Man, people will find a way to get tobacco. They need it, huh?
Right? A little nicotine buzz.
It just
It's
gets you
fun.
going. Well, it gets all your organs. It'll make you go to the bathroom. It'll make you stay awake if you're driving. It'll kind of just get you through things you need to do.
People, I mean, my parents smoked constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. And, they died when they were 10, but, like, they smoked constantly, and now no one really smokes.
Oh, smoking's crazy.
Like, it's pretty rare to see someone smoke. Like, I remember when they outlawed smoking in bars in New York City. I was like, well, that's not going to work. And now, the craziest thing would be, like, seeing someone smoke on the subway. You're like, not only are they breaking new rules, but, like, they're smoking. Like, that's just... But now kids do the
vaping.
And that's actually worse for you.
Right, but it's fun and it tastes good. And you can have all the flavors, and it's like you can have all the different flavors you want.
But kids' lungs are getting decimated because when you vape, you're inhaling oil as opposed to, like, cigarette, you were just inhaling smoke. So, but it's brutal because it is so fun, and it's portable, right?
It's portable. You can do it inside. You can do it outside. You see people on planes secretly taking a hit.
Yeah.
Getting gassed up. You see all types of